does love is that deck. But Glory, on the other hand, does have this even Warlock, so Admirable's the one that's going to be upset back in the room where the casters are going to be watching right now. But I did lean towards these styles of lineup, so more aggressive lists, and then one sort of mid-rangey deck, so like the Control Priest, like the Clone Priest, for example. But with the even Paladin banned out and the Secret Hunter, we see that these kind of the fringe decks are going to end up being played with this Cloning Gallery Priest, not too much of a surprise, and the even Warlock. But we were even saying, watching the previous round, is that Cloning Gallery Priest is so scary even as a favored deck because it takes one Ziliax.
The difference, and Evenlock really gets the short end of the stick in this kind of lineup from both of the players.
Yeah, well, let's go into it. Game number 1. So we're going to round number 5. One more for the rest of the day after round 5. But for now, Glory versus Tansoku. Both players at 4-0. Hunter versus Odd Rogue. Who do you like in this matchup? Because I feel like these matchups, obviously there's a few archetypes of Hunter, but this matchup is hotly debated among a lot of people that no one really definitively knows.
So I think when the Hunter gets Spellstone, it's very favored, but without it, I feel like Odd Rogue can easily roll the deck as long as you play smart around the secrets, and especially going first for Tansoku, that's going to be a big deal. We do see already, though, that Glory has Spellstone, and he's thinking hard about the mulligan, even keeps Kill Command in order to respect something like a Fledgling tempo down on turn 3.
It's definitely a strange...
Oh, sorry, Tansoku's not going first.
It's definitely a strange mindset, right? That as a Hunter, an aggressive, mainly minion-based deck, you keep Kill Command as a removal tool, right? It's not like keeping Hunter's Mark, which might make a bit some sense, but a Kill Command for me feels bad because then you're going into the game expecting your opponent to have stronger plays than you, which definitely does not feel fun.
But it is the right thing to do in this particular matchup where the Hunter has late game, they have sustain, whereas Odd Rogue just has their Myras for the final push.
Yeah, it's just the mentality of the matchup, right? Whereas it's why I always feel Odd Rogue feels like they have the edge because they can just go that little bit more powerful early game.
Yeah. And Tansoku feels bad having to play the Argent Squire knowing that your opponent immediately has an answer because they have the links in hand. And even worse, Glory has the Crackling Razor Maw, so getting health onto this Spring Paw would be a huge, huge detriment to Tansoku because he would have to use the dagger over 2 turns and not remove both minions immediately.
Right, and I would say if you were just fearing the links, unless there was a Diamole as well, I wouldn't mind personally too much if the Argent Squire gets killed by the 2, the links combo. Because it often means that the turn 2 is pretty weak. But yeah, the Razor Maw is always scary. Even +1/+1 creates like a tempo loss overall for the Rogue. So any kind of adapt outside of the real bad ones should be okay. So I do like the Razor Maw.
And Spring Paw normally wouldn't be just a turn 1 play, just a 1-mana 1/1, but against Odd Rogue going first, it's just so important to be able to threaten something. The Death Rattle is also really annoying for the Odd Rogue to deal with, in the same reason that they just don't deal well with Odd Paladin. It's just they don't want to be expending little bits of damage into several minions going wide. They have tall minions that want to go face.
Right. I did wonder then as well, was there any reason to potentially go for the double 1-drops from the Rogue and just say, well, next turn, if an animal companion comes out, dagger into Deadly Poison, deals with it, and then you still have the 1/2s potentially to kill off some minions?
I think it would have been a little bit awkward because leaving the Crackling Razor Maw up means that it could have traded into one of those 1/2s.
Right.
But it was worth thinking about here. And Tansoku with the Tar Creeper off the top, that's a pretty good one. It at least stalls the Dire Mole and allows for Tansoku to potentially hold the dagger if he wants to coin out the Captain Greenskin on the next turn.
Yeah, we're edging now to as Rogue edges towards turn 5. The game, I won't say the games are decided, but they are very heavily weighted one way or the other depending on how you got to turn 5. And with options of coin Vilespine or coin Greenskin or option C, which could be depending on what happens from your opponent, all of these are very powerful and they allow you to adapt to anything that, allow Tansoku to adapt to anything that Glory is going to do. And this is, I was talking to TJ about this earlier, this is the weakness for me of the secret version of this Hunter. I'm leaning much more towards just the pure beast version, is these secrets can often not do too much because certain classes at certain times can just not deal with them for a turn or so. And also, like, now the Kill Command, okay, it kills the Tar Creeper, but that's pretty much your whole turn, which then just gives Tansoku the sort of initiative back in the game.
Yeah. It's true, and the good thing for Glory, I suppose, is that even though he's doing like things that are weak on paper, which is playing another 1-mana 1/1, it's pretty important to have a clear board on the rogue side going into their turn 5 or coin turn 5, just because their individual 5 drops are not great. Tansoku is not even running Cobalt Scalebane, which is the best thing you can do on 5 mana on its own. So Glory would be most worried about like smaller minions onto the board, in which case he has this board of his own, which is just a little bit more awkward for Tansoku to deal with. Glory just wants to land a safe Subject 9 so that he can curve secrets into Spellstone, and the Spellstone is really the kicker against Odd Rogue. They just can't deal with it.
The only way they deal with it is by being so far ahead that they can either ignore it or positively trade into it. And this is the scary factor now as well, and I think this is why we see the bump, is that Fungalmancer, when there are just 2 minions you are leaving up, is terrifying.
It does work out really well with the bump, because that would put these minions to 3/4, and so they both still don't trade well into the Subject 9. Tansoku, though, doesn't even have that option. He can go for Greenskin and Deadly Poison. He could go for Vile Spine plus the Flame Elemental, I suppose.
I think I like the Greenskin Deadly Poison, because you can just hit down the 4/4 anyway. You get an additional swing of the dagger, and you put a 5/4 on the board.
Doing it this way around makes it a little bit awkward next. Well, I guess not, if you just want to trade your double 1-drops and then hold the dagger, so you still get both the Deadly and Captain Greenskin value. Even gonna hold the Flame Elemental there. I guess trying to respect Rexar?
Yeah, and maybe just for a combo activator, depending on what's drawn next turn anyway.
Sure. I mean, after seeing this turn, though, Tansoku must know what's coming. And even if he's somehow able to deal with not just the secrets, but the first fully buffed Spellstone, there's a second one coming. Fungalmancer will help, though.
Yeah, that's actually... Oof. This is a tough one, isn't it?
These are the first secrets that Tansoku has seen all game, though, so he has not tested for anything. The package from Glory, I think, is not running Snipe, as most are cutting it these days.
Yeah, it's pretty much one of all of the others. There's 1 Explosive Trap, 1 Freezing, 1 Snake, 1 Venom Strike, 1 Wandering Monster. So kind of a...
There's no misdirection. It's not all of the others.
Kind of a weird set of choices, though, because often you normally drop like a 2 of something in the list, but just not there for Glory.
So Tansoku there, if he was expecting Explosive Trap, he's choosing to respect it in a different way, because you could have respected it by playing the Fungalmancer onto these minions that would have died to Explosive Trap. But there's also an argument for just letting it rip and then trying to land a Fungalmancer on a fully healthy Flame Elemental, which is played just this turn. But no matter which way you slice it, I think Tansoku's way far behind now. This kind of board, if Glory or if Tansoku had managed to maybe land a Hench Clan Thug to face in the early game, would have allowed Tansoku to just start going face. But you see he's forced to trade here. Glory just had steam for days, and man.
Yeah, this is scary. I mean, putting a 5-attack minion into a 1/1 is just unfun in every way. And the biggest difference here is the health tolls, right? A lot of the time, health, I won't say it doesn't matter, but until it hits 0, it kind of doesn't matter in a lot of matchups. But at the moment, Hunter can just continue to go face, because every single turn they get further and further to ending the game, and there's nothing Rogue can do about it, apart from try and get lethal quicker. But it's not going to happen now. It's literally Glory's on double the health, and he's winning on board. This went downhill very quickly.
Yeah. Just from the turn 1 Spring Paw, which on paper seems like a really bad play, but against Odd Rogue, anything you can do to stall their early game and just eventually get to your power plays is enough.
Think.
And now Tansoku has to consider what secrets are even left. So he'll be thinking it could be freezing. But a lot of it, other than trying to get these minions to get good attacks in, it doesn't really matter, because if you want to trade, then none of the trades are good, because you're trading and still getting whittled down by hero power. So it's kind of just a lose-lose situation, I feel, here for Tansoku. Even a shake of the head then, as he's like, wait, there are more minions on the board now?
Yeah. Yeah, he knows what's up. Maybe not as expressive as Surrender, but we can read even little grimaces, because we know what's going on here. He can't even combo out the Vile Spine this turn because he didn't have a dagger up to use Deadly Poison. This is the next best thing, but I think he knows the writing is on the wall.
Yeah, there's only 5 damage required extra, apart from the hero power here, but Thunder Rhino's going to be able to push a little bit more, or maybe just another Spellstone. Why not?
Kind of liking the Tundra freezing. Direm will isolate the green skin, but no matter which way you slice it, even the Spellstone would have been extremely oppressive as well. Is this just lethal? Yeah. Oh, one. Okay.
Yeah, it's just off, right? Yeah. I would have been worried if I'd missed that. There's a Cold Blood, but all the Cold Bloods in the world aren't going to make up that kind of health detriment, and Glory starts it off with a very nice first win. And as I mentioned earlier, and as you quite rightly mentioned, Rogue can keep up, but the second it slips, the
best answers to something like an early Mountain Giant, as long as their opponent doesn't play into Mass Hysteria.
Right.
And Glory is just going to go ahead and queue that up into a strong unfavorable with the Odd Rogue now on Tansoku's side.
Yeah, this is one of the big questions. The Odd Rogue often is just a little bit too fast, although that opening hand for even Warlock is not bad. I would like that against Odd Rogue. The Ooze is so disruptive to the general plan of how Odd Rogue works, especially early game. The Doomslayer is a fantastic safety net. And to be honest, even Spellbreaker and a Hench Clan Thug makes it a much more manageable target from something along the lines of Hellfire or even a base Spellstone that is also in the hand. Whereas Tansoku's got his endgame locked up.
Yeah.
It's just the rest of it that he's got to get there.
Is this not a Myra's hand? This looks like what a Myra's hand should be to me. And Tansoku is not wasting any time, not giving a dagger for Glory to Ooze, and really punishing the fact that Glory did not coin out Doomsayer, although I don't blame him for it.
Yeah, it's a very tough call to make because in most circumstances this does not happen.
Yeah.
But it's really heads-up play from Tansoku. And the thing I've learned about Tansoku for the many years we've cast him is that he does love him some aggro, and he knows how to play it. Just gaining the aggressive push early because, yeah, you know, you can talk about hooked reavers all you want in terms of even Warlock's life total, but if all they do is play one hooked reaver and then next turn you kill it and then they're dead because of how low it is, well, it doesn't matter that you push some early damage.
Exactly. And Tansoku here is already faced with kind of a sad feeling of having to clear off the Plated Beetle to respect Defile, and he will be met with undoubtedly Coin Spellstone to deal with this 5-3. It is just pushing too much damage, and then Tansoku's threats are running pretty low, but Glory has had an inefficient turn if he's forced to respond with Coin Spellstone.
Right.
Tansoku, maybe he's not even clearing off the Beetle. He's really just not decisive about these plays, and the targeting before you actually know what to do can sometimes give your opponent a lot of information as to what your hand looks like, but it is a tough decision.
Yeah, I think for me, the Beetle's almost good for Tansoku, which obviously you sink 4 damage, right? And then they gain 3 armor, that kind of sucks. But getting rid of the 1 health minion means that now, for a Defile to happen, Glory has to provide a 1 health minion from somewhere. So it wasn't too bad overall. I did wonder if there's going to be even double 2-drop potentially this turn to kill the weapon and then clear off and then be able to get the Doomsayer down so that if the Doomsayer is even cleared, it's kind of likely the use lives, but it's a little bit risky. And Glory just saying, actually, I'll just take a 4-7.
Yeah, I mean, the more that I look at it, maybe the Spellstone was kind of an overreaction because you do want to get to the point where you're threatening Hooked Reaver. This creates an awkward situation for Tansoku, which is like, okay, if you push face again, then I'm threatening Hooked Reaver. If you don't clear the Twilight Drake, it can get a value trade. Maybe I Shroom Brewer it back up and it's just never dying. And Tansoku is still 2 turns off of being able to potentially combo out of Vilespine by virtue of not being on the coin.
I think importantly as well is if the Spellstone was used now and Tansoku then played one of the power 3 drops, it's like, this could be a little bit awkward because then do I have to Spellbreaker? And then you know, Tansoku always stays that 1 minion ahead, but can't argue with this in my book.
Yeah.
When you've got pretty much just Leroy in hand, you say, right, I'm pushing everything. Not only do they have to Hooked Reaver, they also have to do something significant because the Hooked Reaver is already dead if it is played this turn.
Right.
On board right now. And then Tansoku wins.
Yeah.
Really heads up play.
It is just the way that you're able to deal with something like the Twilight Drake. And Glory was probably aware of this, but it is unlikely that your opponent had the double Cold Blood ready to go just like that, plus a Charger. And on top of that, having Leroy already in hand. So Tansoku just has a lot of Odd Rogue knowledge, knowing that, okay, when my opponent puts me in this awkward situation, the best play to punish that is just
Well, it's
Then
literally
everything face.
only Leroy, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't. Tansoku cannot Vile Spine this turn
Yep.
because he can't activate it because there's no coin. Hey. But it literally would have to be Leroy, but Tansoku fights back with a very nice setup into that. Glory's head goes down a little bit, but sometimes that's just the way the game goes, and you rewind all the way back, and it feels terrible to say, and I'm not saying it was the correct play, but Doomsday was in hand. You know, so there was a point where, for example, double true 2-drop might have caused Tansoku to spend more mana on redaggering. That's really what you're after, but he made it work in the right way. I like it.
Definitely don't think it's that horrible when you draw into a cold blood activator, but yeah, I mean,
The opening hand was
yes.
horrible. We're
the
gonna go
top
into,
decks were not.
we're gonna go into game number 3 now. Glory now on his Odd Rogue, and Tansoku going for this Even Paladin. And Even Paladin, a deck I've not been sold on for a long time, but I feel like the more I watch it, the more I understand as to why people are bringing it. The percentage on Even Paladin brings has actually gone up quite dramatically for Asia Pacific. But it does get the work done. It's one of those decks where it wins, but I don't really know how.
Yeah.
It just gets there somehow.
It's often not convincing, and if you look at its stats, it's not strongly favored in many matchups, and it's also not strongly unfavored in many matchups. So kind of a hedge deck, but pretty safe to bring if you're trying to be an aggressive quote-unquote lineup, because there just aren't that many good aggro decks in the meta. And no worse feeling for Odd Rogue than drawing your 1-drop on turn.
Fortunate. Although,
So
I think it's actually still correct to dagger this turn. I'm a big fan of just putting down more minions and getting more attacks total on the board. But with Hench Clan into a Tar Creeper to defend, I think it's very, very powerful. I think the guys were talking about earlier, Admirable and Sol, I believe, they were talking about the way like to defend the True Silver into a Tar Creeper is actually very nice, just to keep those 3-drops safe.
yeah, although the way it lines up, because Tansoku's on coin, playing the Hench Clan first, even if you buff it up, doesn't save it from True Silver. You would have the Tar Creeper first, in which case, between this Hydrologist, if it lives, of course, Glory has the option of clearing it off, and the True Silver, then it wouldn't actually protect the Hench Clan. And it's also that weird thing of like, oh, if you're using the dagger now, then that's one less buff on the Hench Clan. You don't have the mana to play it and to redagger and play Tar Creeper on the next turn.
I think this is still good for Glory because the coin is used, and basically Tansoku needs exactly True Silver to hard punish this. But then if you go Tar Creeper 1-drop, you're edging towards that power turn 5 for Odd Rogue, and they both don't die, right? Because the Tar Creeper doesn't die to this True Silver next turn.
Yeah.
The 1-drop is protected by the Tar Creeper, and if he plays the Squire,
The True Silver champion otherwise. And now Tansoku is left with a slightly awkward turn, although, I mean, actually it's not, right? Just Pyro, Redemption, and a 1-drop seems okay.
I was wondering whether you go Kangor Redemption. That is a lot of healing.
True. It's just that I kind of want to clear one minion at the very least because of the threat of Fungal Mancer.
That is true. But you can clear it all off anyway the turn after, right? Because you could always just Pyro Equality anyway if Glory goes heavier onto the board. I just wonder if like playing Kangor now and the Redemption is so annoying. Glory either kills it and great, that's like a whole turn you've bought for nothing, or Glory just says, you know what, this secret is probably annoying, I'm going to ignore it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well, if it keeps Divine Shield, the Pyro Equality clears, Kangor's still alive, and it's still a problem going forward.
The Kangor Redemption, if he chooses to do it this way, would mean that you wouldn't hero power, though.
That's
so
true.
He is just going to hold the secret, probably to be able to use Pyro, Redemption, and then Equality so that he can ping off the Divine Shield off of the Squire in case it does get Fungal Mancered.
Yeah, I definitely like the Kangor coming down just because you have the emergency clear anyway with the Pyro. And also, Kangor is one of those minions that has hidden values. So Kangor almost always has taunt to me because most decks just cannot leave Kangor on the board because all their attacks are like minus damage at this point.
And the threat of a Blessing of Kings on this or a Spiker Chi just means near infinite heal. And now Glory is stuck with a turn where he's just clearing things, but awkwardly, and I mean, funnily enough, his hand is so awkward that you don't really want to be going face with this anyway. It's just a bunch of small damage things. Your hand is Vile Spines. Your hand is saying, be reactive.
And also as well, to be fair, this might not be the best thing as Odro, but he put the least amount of damage required at all to kill that Kangor. So you don't have to go in with a 4 attack minion, 5 attack minion.
Yep.
Dark Reaper's getting the job done. But I will say, Glory kind of has to get some decent draws.
He does.
Just to get something going. I will say though, Odrogue is always just one unstable element away from a good time.
I like the face attack from Glory there because his hand is Vile Spines. So what if your opponent plays Blessing of Kings? Then you have a Vile Spine target.
Right. It's like, please make something. Give me something to do with these cards.
So I can have a tempo swing. So Tansoku can go for that board clear with the Pyro qualities, but yeah, Tansoku seeing that your opponent just has 3 1-attack minions, I don't think he feels very pressured, and he can just put more annoying things in the way, keep threatening the possibility of Spike Ridge Steed, so Glory cannot keep going face, or if he does, it's a big risk for him. And Tansoku's chilling.
Yeah, this matchup is being played out in a very strange way, and not an incorrect way based on the hands. But it's kind of like a jousting competition, but instead of riding horses, both players are riding snails. Because nothing is really getting going yet, and you know, eventually they'll hit each other, and someone is going to fall off that horse, or snail now. But until then, we're just going to wait and see, because both players are just trudging along, because no matter what Glory does slowly on the board in terms of minions, at any point now, Tansoku can go no, and just clear the board and reset everything.
Tansoku seeing that super weak turn from Glory, just re-dagger and play a Firefly, not even the Flame Elemental, I think gives him so much information as to the quality of hand from Glory. He's probably thinking, it's like Leroy's, Vile Spines, maybe Myra's, just things that are not good to late. Like if there were Hench Clan, Razor, Vicious Fledgling, or Fungalmancer, that all would have been played. Even like an SI, you might just tempo that out in this situation just to put on more damage.
Right.
And Tansoku can now walk this awkward, do sort of an awkward back and forth dance, play a game of chicken, as you guys so often put it, where he can just keep being a little bit annoying while he's at a high health total. He can even hold on to this True Silver and force Glory to make some sort of commitment to the board.
Yeah, I was going to say, I actually quite like the Glass Knight here, because one, it's very durable. It requires, again, multiple attacks to go in.
Right.
But this time, instead of Kangor's one attack, well, Glass Knight's going to start killing things. You know, if anything trades into it, it's going to start killing them. The Redemption makes it very awkward. And then the True Silver makes it awkward again the turn after, if it lives.
And the foregoing of hero power should let Glory know that it is exactly Redemption.
Well, that's what Tansoku wants you to think.
That'd
There's always the bluff. It works sometimes.
That would be such a sick bluff. But even if Glory did fall for a bluff here, or if he thought there was a chance of a bluff, he still kind of has to clear it, even knowing it's Redemption, right?
Yeah. One thing I think Glory now with this draw he could do is actually just go for I'll Vile Spine it, see what happens, and Cold Blood and do this.
Sure.
Because, you know, you find out very quickly if it's Noble Sacrifice or not. And the second it's not, you're like, right, I'm just going to start jamming a lot of damage to face. Have your one minion to get through 2 Dark Reapers. Enjoy.
This is strange. I thought he was gonna like dagger it down and then Vile Spine the redeemed version. Instead, he is floating a lot of mana like this.
Yeah, very similar to Hunter Secrets that are minion attack based, like Snake Trap, Venom Strike. You can just say, actually, you're just not having it. Enjoy.
I would endorse this play more if you didn't know your opponent has a True Silver already.
Right.
This just looks really awful into the True Silver turn. Yes, they have a 5-1 still, but I'm not sure if that's enough in this situation. Tansoku, unfortunately for Glory, has an even more convenient way of clearing all of this.
I would say, though, that if the trades just happened purely and there was no AoE play, then you're pushing your opponent to quite, low health total. But with both players holding on so many cards for so long, it's unlikely that there's nothing that Tansoku could do that turn.
So Glory is just fully committed to never dealing with this. And I don't blame him at this point, but it's just so sad that these Vile Spines have been in hand all turn.
Yep. Can get rid of it now, though, because they get down.
Right.
It's going to res that one, and then the Valspine's going to clean it up very nicely. And now, it's almost turned it into whoever draws the best first wins, because these hands kind of counter each other. Obviously, Avenging Wrath with Equality will be some kind of burst, but so Lich King's played. So Tansoku's like, sweet, I've got Lich King, he's just played Valspine, awesome. Glory's like, okay, you played Lich King. As long as that one card you got was not insane, well, I already beat you, Lich King, and can push 3 damage with this Valspine. So it's very much back and forth. Henchclan is a great pickup as well.
I mean, it was so funny that you were saying that the hands counter each other exactly as Lich King was drawn for the second Valspine, which was held so long. And Tansoku does have any number of clears, and over 2 turns, I think this should be guaranteed lethal with the Death and Decay and the Avenging Wrath. Because this turn he can go Equality, Pyro, Death and Decay. He can then Argent the Pyro. Just a lot of damage.
Yeah, I mean, you could even just go without the... You could go the Pyro last, right? Because Death and Decay would clear it up with Equality anyway, then you can push extra damage and keep minions on the board, so... Yeah, this is looking pretty good for Tansoku so far.
And he should know that the last card in Glory's hand is the Flame Elemental, and there's no single draw outside of Myra's that will lethal him from 10, because Glory can only dagger him down to 8. Leroy does 6 only. So I think that is a near 100% play for Tansoku.
Yeah, when you lose to only one single card and not even a copy of a 2-of, it's one single card in the deck, and there's 18 cards left, you say, I'm clearing this board, I'm setting this up with double Equality. Not only can this clear happen, but as you mentioned, the Equality Avenging Wrath the turn after can happen to make it even extremely likely.
Yeah.
Glory simply has to do too many things, and this has to be Myra's into Leroy with a Cold Blow, for example.
When you have 11 mana.
Oh yeah, sorry, of course. Yep, this is too much to do. And Void Ripper, it's almost talk about Void Ripper and how good it actually is right now. And again, with maybe the lack of overall Doomsays, it just doesn't get the job done.
Glory can't see the lethal, but it is right there. Equality Avenging. Do you even have to Equality? Probably not, but I don't want to do the math on this, so...
Okay. I would have to Equality, because knowing me, I would find a way to mess it up, and I wouldn't win. But it looks good to me, and even just the minions sticking around, even these 2 damage, 1 damage here and there, is definitely going to add up. And as I said, we finally got there. The hits happen, and Tansoku is going to go up 2-1 versus Glory, only 1 more win away from hitting that 5-0 record, which is...
You don't have time to get nervous if you can help it. I think I got so in my own head about what can my opponent do that I just didn't think about it. But maybe in this case, after having done it for so long, you maybe start to psych yourself out.
Right. Yeah, it's something that's interesting that maybe because you're thinking too much about, right, I'm on stream, I'm being watched, this match is potentially, to be honest, winning into the top cut for both of these players. Maybe you do need to just take a step back and go, let's just play some Hearthstone and win some games. But it's going to be the Clone Priest for Tansoku. It's going to go against the Odd Rogue, the nicer matchup, I would say, for Glory in this one. But I don't know about you, Gia, but I can see a Zilliax, I can see a Spirit Lash and a Psychic Scream.
Yeah.
Those cards made me terrified as an Odd Rogue player.
This is a nightmare. Although Glory's hand is quite good as well. He had that 1-drop into 3-drop that threatens something, and Fungal Master to eventually come down. And in these early stages, the only thing the Odd Rogue has to be cognizant of is play around Mass Hysteria. Because the 1 of Shadow Word Death usually won't be there for the Clone Priest, and so they just can't do things early on in the game to deal with your early threats, your fledglings, your Hench Clan thugs.
Yeah, and in general, some of the best ways to play around Mass Hysteria, it's not only play less minions, so the attacks are more predictable, but also just make 1 minion big and the rest of your minions keep small. So, for example, this is playing around Mass Hysteria to a certain extent, because they will never, the Hench Clan will never die in this extent.
And that's why they start including the Shadow Word Death, the 1 of, to psych you out and be like, haha, if you play well around my 2 of, you get punished by my 1 of.
Priest things.
Yep.
Ugh.
And we see Glory there. He could have committed to a Cold Blood this turn, but I guess he's trying to hedge around that death, and that's why that one of inclusion is just so annoying for the Odd Rogue.
And, you know, however much a few of us casters, not subtle, but probably everyone else, complains a little bit about the way this deck can work out sometimes. There are hard moments, right? The deck is not simple. It's simple when everything's going well, but what deck isn't? Because now there's a choice. Do you coin Ziliax and maybe just pass? Or do you play Spirit Lash this turn, Ziliax next turn, so you can potentially coin out one of these big 7-drops of Spellstone or Psychic Scream? These are all plays you have to make, and if you mess up one with this deck, I feel like you open yourself up to such a higher percentage chance of losing.
Right. I think Tansoku there wisely goes for the Spirit Lash so that he can curve Ziliax into Coin Scream, and oftentimes you just can't have any dead turn against Odd Rogue, because a dead turn equals to a dead you in this situation, and Tansoku could not afford to throw out the Ziliax too early. He's just gonna have to scrape by the skin of his teeth.
That's a good one, apart from the fact that we can see Greenskin into Cold Blood.
Oh, yeah.
In hand, locked and loaded for Glory. And this is what I was talking about, just as much as, you know, for all those games that Clone Priest just plays Cloning Gallery and then you're dead from like 40 damage, 50, 60, 70 damage, whatever, then games like this happen where they just don't have enough and the aggro deck draws. I know what would Salt say, the cashews or whatever he said earlier on.
Yeah, Tansoku has the option between these 5-drops. Both of them get punished by Vilespine and you're dead, so you just erase that card from your realm of possibility. In which case, I think the Ziliax ends up healing you for more because the Grizzly has 8 health. Oh, it's roughly the same. I guess the Ziliax can absorb 1 more damage because it heals you for 6. It has 2 plus Divine Shield, so technically it's a 3-9. I will just say that in very loose terms. So that's why Tansoku is going to go for it here. And of course, it also immediately removes 1 minion.
Yeah. And suddenly, though, you know, this is where the game can turn around for Tansoku.
Is this still lethal? Wait.
It's not lethal, right?
He goes to 20. There's 11, 12, 14. It's 2 off, I think. And you're right. This is where it can turn around, because then the Coin Scream happens. But if Glory just puts Tansoku to 2, then just the dagger on the next turn will close out the game.
Glory here gonna just be pushing as much as possible. He might even just hold everything else.
So now you need to start thinking about, if not Coin Scream, what is the best thing they can do? And it involves resurrecting Ziliax. So that's what Glory is trying to think about here. If a resurrect Ziliax happens, is it better that I commit the deckhand now? I think if he was thinking about that, he would have rather have cold-blooded the Henge Clan Thug.
Right, and I think, though, the Ardent Squire might be a consideration, because if you're scared of Ziliax, Squire's Divine Shield, if you cold-blood it, means that Ziliax gains no heal from that trade, which is something that's very important to note. So I do like this play.
The Servitude puts another Ziliax onto the board. It will not kill anything if it also wants to heal. So I think that is just lethal anyway you slice it. Tansoku is forced to scream here, but the deckhand, Cold Blood, and dagger hit will close it out. And we are just going to go to what we expected would be the final match, which is Clone Priest versus Even Lock.
Yeah, South Sea deckhand, Cold Blood. Clean this up. Tansoku just a bit of an exhalation of air there, just breathing out and going, taking a drink and being like, well, yeah, that's that match most of the time.
I'm glad to see that. Clone Priest, get out of here.
It was scary though, because you look, the second there's no deckhand, for example, that's not quite lethal, and then Ziliax gets resurrected, and then and then the bear comes down, and then it's snowball. Honorable deck, clearly. Let's just get straight into it. This win will pretty much just guarantee one of these players gets into the top cut. And we'll go into those group stages a little bit later on. Well, later on tomorrow. Yeah, the Giant, not a bad start just to try and get it down, but Master Stereo can do some work.
Yeah, it's very key to make sure that your Twilight Drake is below 9 health if you're playing it alongside a Giant, because if it's 4-9, they just kill each other, which is the worst thing ever. And as early as now, Tansoku is faced with which of these he wants. I think he was looking for Shadow or Death in particular. Didn't get it though. He is playing the one of.
Yep, and a one of pain as well, which I've always felt like it's always one or the other.
Yep.
If you squeeze one in, it's only one and not both. Normally just meta dependent what's going on the ladder on any given day, but Tansoku wants to hedge his bets a little bit.
I'm actually wondering what he cut from the deck because he is still playing a lot of the minion package.
Let's just do a card check. 31 cards in the deck there.
Yeah, he's got the Vivid as well. Obviously, I don't play very much of this deck.
Yeah, everything's there. Okay, I'm confused. I'll look at that later.
Yeah. Anyway, not much happening in the early turns. Tansoku is going to be able to get down his Gilded Gargoyle. He has 3 res effects in hand, just hoping to fish for, if not death this early on, just survive until Gallery, which is the bread and butter of this deck.
Prophet Draw is just empty right now, and this could snowball a little bit, although I do like this Servitude here because you know what these are for? They're not for the 2/2s, they're for the coins, and when you can just imagine just being Druid for a little bit, that's effectively what these Gargoyles allow Priests to do. And already this Gargoyle dies, he can coin out a 7-drop next turn, so if he draws Psychic Scream, he can say the second giant comes down, he can just scream them into the deck, and then it's like, right, that will just buy me enough time to get everything else done.
It has the added benefit of being annoying for Mass Hysteria boards in case Glory would want to play like a not full health Twilight Drake somehow. Ooh. So there is the god outcome of this Mass Hysteria, wherein everything hits the giant.
Does he Vivid Nightmares this?
He could.
Because that'll give him the coins to get to Cloning Gallery, right?
Oh, I know what he's cut. He's cut Obsidian Statue, but that's just one card.
Oh, right, yeah. I'm so used to not seeing Obsidian Statue now.
I immediately thought of that because if he goes for the early Gallery as soon as possible, that's a big one to be on the board because then it could punish the giant. In which case, if it's not there, just the Defile can deal with that 1/1 board, even through Ziliak's Divine Shield, and allow the giant to push through. Because we can see Tansoku doesn't have the burst to back up the Gallery, just more res effects. Also, he has Valen in hand.
This is where, if I was sat in Glory's seat right now, although to most eyes he seems ahead, I would be worried because there are coins involved.
Yeah.
And you just don't know what's coming out, but very nicely done. The Spellbreaker, there was multitude of options there as to what Glory could do, but the Spellbreaker just saying no, actually -1 coin means you can't trade them off, and Cloning Gallery specifically.
And it has to be a Mass Hysteria and Prey here. I'm just not sure if it's better to double trade into the Homunculus first. I'm not sure because that allows for... I think it just ends up being a 50-50.
Yeah, so I committed to anything past 3 or 4 minions. I will not try and work out Mass Hysteria because the outcomes become so ridiculously large in number. So I just sit back and watch.
There's too many permutations for me to do this.
I think the most important part of how Mass Hysteria can work here is the Holy Smite draw for me, because that might be the 2 damage you need to get the kill on that giant. Just depend on how the attacks can work out. There's enough attacks to maybe whittle the giant down. Maybe it just dies anyway to Mass Hysteria, of course. But if it doesn't, I feel like the Holy Smite might... Oh, wow.
He got it, though. And the Holy Smite can clear out the ooze.
Yeah, there you go. And now...
I don't know whether or not to call that lucky, and that is the worst part.
Sheer terror overcomes Glory as his board is done. And he has to hope against hope that Cloning Priest does not do things.
And he does hold the Holy Smite because after the Gallery into res, it's just going to do so much. It's because after that, he can eventually just tempo out the Valen and Smite. From the Gallery, he will get Ziliax and 2 taunts, I believe. That might not be enough. Without... Okay, but there's no Valen.
Sorry, Gia, what was that?
There's no Valen, though.
Oh, that's what you said. Okay, yeah. I was referring to the strange sound you made, but... Okay, so the coins are going to come out for the Gallery, and I guess we're just going to see what happens.
To Radiant, a Lyra. Yeah, Lyra could make dumb things happen. Did he play a Radiant earlier?
No.
Yeah, so it just didn't get it
Yeah,
then.
it just chose it, yeah. Because the gargoyles we've been seeing have just been resurrects, right? And the vivids.
So if he doesn't respect anything, Defile into Hellfire suddenly becomes very scary. He wouldn't be dead to exactly that though, because it would kill off his Ooze and Sun Fury. Oh no, but then the Ooze just trades into the Zilliax first, and then there's no 2 proc.
Ooh. Normally in some matchups you don't mind an extra spellstone, but not when you want something else to happen here.
Glory. I couldn't tell what that expression was from him, but he sat up there. I don't know what he was praying for because both Defile and Hellfire don't get there in this situation.
I think he might have been happy that there wasn't a follow-up spell.
Oh, yeah.
Because obviously with the amount of pre-spells there are that are quite low cost, even on zero, well, you know, -1 mana with this Radiant Elemental, things could have carried on for a few more spells, but with just the one spell cast and the pass, probably happy.
He was tapping for exactly Dread Inferno there. That would have been the kicker card, but it's not there, and now he has to worry about the res.
Well, my question now, honestly, is does Glory ever hit face with a minion ever again this game? There are 3 spellstones, and by the time Tansoku works his way through the biggest one first, the others upgrade as well because he'll be playing more spells. So,
my goodness,
this is slightly terrifying. And also, there's just Velen Mind Blast if Malygos lives next turn.
I wonder if there's some sort of preemptive Doomsayer setup so that you can block off a res turn. He can hide it behind some taunts.
He has to spellstone this Malygos, right? Wait. He isn't spells. Well,
Valen and that.
Just
I
game.
mean,
I was shocked. I thought
what?
I thought spellstone in the Malygos was a big deal because if it wasn't rezzed, you've got to have the idea that Velen might be in hand, but out of nowhere, Tansoku